Hi everybody, it's Mark here, and I know that was a pretty bold statement in the headline of my YouTube tarot deck that you will never see anywhere else on YouTube, but I believe it's true. Now, it may not be true forever, but as of now, it seems to be true, and I know this because I have searched and searched and searched for this particular deck. And it's a new deck, it's not an old vintage deck, and I just could not find any videos on it. Now, there were versions some years ago in German and French, but as of now, or up until now, nothing in English was available, and even so in 2023, those French and German editions have been tweaked and color corrected and made to be more authentic. So what am I talking about? So I am talking about the newly released in 2023, digitally remastered to be more of a match to the original paintings. Yes, my beloved Thoth Tarot. This is the deck that so these are both the large versions. This is the deck that you can get in North America, US Games, easily available on Amazon. This one is still only available in Europe, so I did have to buy it online from a European store. And the reason for that is there is a dispute between the OTO, the organization that sort of owns Frieda Harris's images, and US Games here. There's just some kind of a legal battle where they are not allowing them to release these new beautiful images in North America. So boo, boo, US Games. But in any case, you can get your hands on them. Please note that there already is an fairly widely available tarot deck of Thoth that has the Knight of Cups on the cover, but it's not this one. So that's not the one you want. You want the one that has Crowley and Harris's names and AGM Urania right on the cover, and the back goes into a description of how these are the most sort of synced up to what the actual paintings look like and how they've been remastered, etc. So what I thought I'd do is come on today and just show you, I'm not going to show you the entire deck, but I'll just show you some of the differences and what I considered most improved cards. I feel they're all improved except for one card, so that's pretty good. 77 out of 78 is pretty good balance in favor of the new deck, and I'll explain, or I'll show you that card at the end. So most cards have been improved, but I will show you the ones that I really, really like, or really, really demonstrate the differences. The other nice thing about this sort of, not deck, but package, is that you get a nice vintage picture of the creators, Crowley and Lady Frieda Harris, at her easel. And here is the OTO. And what would be, I would imagine this in book form when it first came out. And on top of all that, we have an improved little white book, which isn't as little as the ones that comes here. I won't bother pulling it out. You know, it's got this teeny printing, and it's kind of all over the map. Lady Frieda Harris says this in her exhibition, and here's a quote from Crowley, and here's James Wasserman's opinions, and it's kind of all over the place. This one, although I don't agree with all of the meanings, is certainly very, very clear if you're just coming across the cards for the first time, and the print is large and easy to see. Okay, that's enough of a preamble. Probably the card that first, now I did see on YouTube some of these older German and French versions, which are not exactly as perfect, shall I say, I'm assuming, as the new version, because they do say it was just up to date color correction as of even last year. But they were very, very close. So I did get an idea of how the images would look. So I knew I really wanted to get my hands on it. So now I will be showing you images from this deck, but if you saw one of my previous videos, you know that I have had the borders cut off of them. So the images are exactly as what you would see here, but without the borders. And an interesting point about that is, so here's the new deck, and you'll notice there's some slight differences in the bordering. They're more faint and not as in your face. And I don't see any reason to remove these borders as I did on this deck. I will show you. So here's a smaller standard version. So this is how dark the borders were in this deck before they were removed. And other details is even the numeration and the titling is less in your face. This is in a circle, this number. This is in a larger oval. And I guess the typeface is fairly the same. I think maybe the trumps is a little fainter. But in any case, that's enough of those differences. Let's take a look at the actual cards. So I just showed you these two, and this is the one that just sold me. I love scarlet red, and I dislike orangey red. So right away you see a huge difference in these cards, and there's also something else going on here. Obviously this is less yellow as well. Look how the emblems on the shield stand out now as opposed to over here. But beyond all that, I would say that this Thoth deck, I'm not sure there's a card in here that is pure white or has any pure white in it. And in this deck, we see pure white in parts of many of the cards. And what happens when you have pure white is you start to get a depth of field. So you feel that the Emperor is here right in front of you and the Ram is in the background behind him. Where here it all feels like it's kind of on the same plane of existence. So I really, really love that difference. So let's go, having stated that, one of the cards that really shows that off is the new Lovers card. We really see Cupid hanging over the lovers. Meanwhile, the priest or the hermit or whoever's doing the ceremony here is faded more into the back, as he should be. We see this imagery coming forward as well. So here's the example, all flat, all one surface. And yes, this deck, for the most part, not every card, but for the most part is more saturated in color, which is something that usually attracts me. But you got all this purple, so that the priest is actually overpowering what the card is, which is the lovers. These two should be standing out. It's them making a connection, not him sort of magically creating a connection here. So in here, like I say, he recedes back, they come forward. The intent of the card is easier to see. And also, Golden Dawn had very specific colors that they wanted to apply to these cards, especially the majors, and I think they are seen more accurately in the new deck. In fact, that's the intent of doing it at all. Now look at this beautiful chariot. Just shiny gold here. And again, he seems to be being propelled out of this white light. Whereas here, it's kind of bluish behind him. And the sphinxes in the front are kind of dark, and here they're lighter and can be seen better. And honestly, sometimes I don't even notice the yellow brick road, the golden tiles, but in here, they certainly make an impact. So I find this to be much improved. Here's a card that didn't really do much for me. Again, it's all on one surface. You don't really get the feeling of that balancing act so much. But when we reduce this sort of yellow color that is dripping into the foreground and the background, and we just sort of light it up, the figure comes forward and is much, much stronger, and we see the balls being balanced and her balancing on her toes. And it just has more momentum, which is what you would want. Now, oh, I forgot to pull one of these cards out. Hang on a sec. Okay, so here to contradict, or one of the cards I at first didn't love because I really love this Lust/Strength card. I mean, these purples and the golden lion and the golden lady and whatever, and it just sort of pops out at you. It's beautiful. So this seemed like a sort of a pale imitation of the card I just showed. But it has really grown on me because these sort of Sephiroth in the wall or the dirt or whatever that is supposed to be, and these saintly figures down here that are being trod on, it's all lost. And here we see their faces, we see the Sephiroth, these little orbs that are going to be coming out here and then starting a new tree of life, I believe is the intent of the card. So after a while, and this certainly looks, I guess I should say this about all of the cards, this looks more like a watercolor painting. So, it just seems more legit as to what the card would look like. So after working with the deck for a few days, this image no longer comes to mind. This one sort of has overridden it. And it's true for all of the cards. You sometimes have to get used to the deck. It is that different. I'm so pleased that I've lived long enough that I can see Lady Frida Harris's actual paintings, or the next best thing to that. Here's another good example. Now that's a beautiful card. There's nothing wrong with that card. The greens, the blues, great. But look when you introduce the yellow and the light. And of course, this is the light of Kether, the top of the Tree of Life. The impact is lighting up the body. We're seeing more of what's going on in the snake pit down here. I guess what I would say about this deck overall is it has more light. It has more warmth. And it's got a softness as well. But not that there's softness in losing definition of the figures, but just, I mean, I know people who don't really know Thoth or first are exposed to it, they think it's a dark deck and whatnot. And I could see how some of these images feel that way. But I imagine both Crowley and Harris wanted to bring a spiritual light out into these images. And in this new deck, I do see it. Here's another much improved card. Look, you can see, first of all, dull brown is one of the colors of the Death card from the Golden Dawn. And now you can see the bones, you can see the gradations of her painting. And what do you see here? A black skeleton. No subtlety. And again, you see this figure in the front and these other figures going off into the distance. It's just so much more of an impact. So that's the majors that I'm going to show you. Now I'll show you a bit from each of the suits. So here's our 10 of Wands, and here it is now. So again, we get rid of this orangey color and we get this more fiery red color, and it makes the wands pop out. I was told, or I read, that the intent of most of the cards, especially the minors, Harris and Crowley, wanted to use complementary colors so that the images would pop and seem kind of three-dimensional, or she uses projective geometry. I believe orange and blue are opposite colors. So you would look for yellow and purple in some of the cards and red and green to sort of get that same vibe. Now check out this Knight of Wands. That's the last wand I'll show you. Again, we get an improved red. The horse is no longer black. It's got brownish, dark brown to black. And it seems more to be on fire than this one. The tail is definitely on fire, and that's what it's meant to show here, but it's just kind of showing the brown of the horse. And you just get to see the details more. So that's our wands. Here's a card that I probably, next to the Emperor, is my most improved. We're into the cups now. I never really liked this Ace of Cups. This seems kind of dull for what it seems to be going for. Now, look at this. Look at the white light. This is all yellowy, and this is no doubt the light of Kether from above, light of spirit. Another one that I like, now I'm not saying that I dislike this deck. It's going to be fun to have a borderless, more saturated deck as an alternative, but I want to work with the real thing. So I feel that the magical intent will come through stronger with the real thing. So this is a card I absolutely love now. You see, I don't know if it comes through the camera, but there is a warmth. It's like a hot, humid summer day with these golden hues, and you're cooling off by this fountain. And here, again, beautiful and more blue, which is, you would think, okay, it should be more blue, it's cups. But this one gives me a feeling, and this one doesn't so much. Okay, so here we have our nasty, very dark Three of Swords, and I would just look at this and I say, okay, it's the Three of Swords, no good. Sword cutting flower, bad. But then here, same thing going on, but we're seeing more details. I find these two swords at the top just get lost in this card, whereas here they stand out a little more. But even more so, if you look at the flower, I used to think, well, that's just a yellow flower. And here you see there is green all through, around, bordering the yellow. And you're also seeing greens and blues and yellows sort of popping out around the card in general. And I just think it's better. This is another card that, this one always left me just flat. It's the Four of Swords. It would say truce under here. And this is sort of the escape pod from all the noise going on. And that's fine, and intellectually I can get it. But here, we see these sparks, these yellow sparks sort of trying to get in, and we feel this protective green, calming vibe in the background. And here the blue just seems to wash over everything. I would say this deck has more yellow and less blue than the other deck. Now here's a card that I absolutely loved in this deck because I love deep purple, and so I just did not expect any improvement here, especially if you lightened it up. And yet, look, all of a sudden I'm seeing the gold hilts on the swords, which I never really took in before. And I just really, really like what I'm seeing here. This, again, just seems to be dark, beautiful color, but details. It's the details we're seeing in the new deck that are so improved. Probably the best Ace of Discs anywhere. This looks like freshly cut tree trunks and wood. Here, beautiful, but not as freshly cut. It's been sitting around for a few days. Just that bit of red here really improves the color. Here's another card that at first I thought, oh, maybe I like the other one better because it's got this sort of blue turquoise color in it. And this one just seems a little blander. And again, I don't know if it's coming through, but there is a softness, coral pink happening on the top that we're losing a lot of, and is sort of faded out here. And all the intricacies of the brush strokes are seen, not so much down here. Again, this is another card, one of my favorites from the old deck, and there's no complaints. Bright blue, beautiful glow in the center. But here we really see this nuance of salmons and pinks and whites and yellows. And I just kind of grew to prefer it. And the other thing is that you'll see that, yes, you may like the beautiful blues, and yes, it's dazzling and nice, but aren't these more earthy? And we are in the discs. Aren't these earthier colors? So they just feel more right in a way. I would say the discs are the most improved. This one being the most improved disc. So we get this feeling of blight. It's very dark. It must be a plant that's not happening. But there's no depth of field at this point. Now, look at this. You can see the stems. You can see these coins are behind this stem. This coin's in front of them. There is just so much more depth in the card compared to that, which is now looking kind of gray and black. Now here's one where I thought, well, I don't like this new one, and then again it's earthier and it grew on me, and it's actually more beautiful in its subtlety. So here's the 9 of discs, which I never really liked. This is one of my least favorite cards in terms of visuals, not in terms of meaning, in the Thoth deck. I mean, sometimes I see it as a bullseye, or you've hit the target, or jackpot, or something like that. But I just don't get a feeling from it so much. Now here, it's just, again, it may not be coming through. This is a deep plum. You cannot see it on this card at all. It just looks sort of blackish. So there are subtle differences, but this is more of a mossy green that I think works for the earth suit again. Okay, I'm going to save the best card, the most improved. And I'll just show you some of the cards. Most of the cards stayed pretty much the same, but the discs, there's quite a difference. Now, I do like the dark bull. I do like the dark skin tone and all that on this card. Again, I'm not complaining. If this is your taste, good for you. And this seems like a cast iron kind of cart. But here we get more of a golden vibe. I mean, this guy's the moneymaker. He's the Prince of Discs. He's bringing home the dollars. And so you have all these golden orbs he's surrounded by. And now, oh, there's actual designs on the front of this chariot, which we can't really even tell is on there. So if you like your details, if you want to see everything that she intentionally put in the painting, you want to get the new one. I think this one is much improved. Again, very, very dark for, you know, she's water of earth. That should be a very nurturing kind of vibe to it. And here, much softer, much more approachable Queen of Discs. More golden again. And here we have the Knight. Look at that. Now, this was one of my favorite cards in the previous deck. I just love the coloration here, the dark, the maroon, and you know, and all that going on. But here we're seeing details in the armor. We're seeing details on the shield. We're getting a green when the light hits the land. It shows off green pastures. Not here. They're kind of brownish. The wheat, is it ready for, you know, as a crop, or is it more green and still growing, which it does seem to be in that stage. So I like both. Sometimes the cards that I didn't show you, sometimes it's, you know, they're very close and there's no big deal. So my absolute favorite card for improvement is this one. Now this is one of the most beautiful cards in the deck, and that's why Lon Milo Dickett put it on his book, Understanding the Aleister Crowley Tarot. And he says he's in love with this lady. But how much more in love would you be with this lady? Look at the garment and look at the fur. It's so warm and it's so springtime, which this is also supposed to be depicting. And again, there is a depth to it. So the card that I like the least, the 1 out of 78, that is not my favorite, but as I stop looking at the old deck and start working with the new deck, it's starting to win me over. And I'll tell you what actually won me over. So here we have a golden magus popping out of a blue background with some purple down here. And here we have kind of a dull looking yellow and a dull blue and a dull purple. And I just thought, no, this card is worse. How can they have done such a great job reproducing these cards and just fail on the one? So then I went back to one of my reference books and I looked at the Golden Dawn color scheme and what should be attributed to this card, and what they listed was yellow, purple, and gray. Blue was not on the list. There was a kind of indigo, which is what this is going on back here on the list, but nowhere was there this kind of bright blue, sky blue listed anywhere. So I thought, okay, if this is their intent, I'm just going to have to get used to it. And the one good thing is because of the lightness in the background, he does seem to be popping out a little more. But anyway, it's just the one I'm going to have to get used to. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.